built to be the best, number one and nothing less. Lead me to my destiny. I have waited patiently. I have vision, oh I believe. I know I can count on me. Says I was built to be the best, number one and nothing less. Lead me to my destiny. I have waited patiently. I have vision, oh I believe. I know I can count on me. Says I was built to be the best, number one and nothing less.
It is not that it is impossible to remedy the situation. In fact, the beauty of life is that there will always be second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chances. There will be a lot of opportunities to rectify the wrongs. But the challenge that comes with them is that you want to make sure it becomes, the longer you live it, the more expensive it becomes. Because you are buying time that you're supposed to use to build on top of a foundation to rectify the fault in the foundation. Those who are used to building projects will understand the concept of underpinning, whereby you're trying to take that foundation to a more stable soil. It takes a lot of time. It's better to have built a solid foundation. So to your question around how those values defined, or how they helped, or how they shaped, how they defined me. I remember when I got to Lagos. Okay, so defining moments. Let me begin with the moment I discovered the value of diligence and excellence in it at its core. So here was I, primary school chap, not your very best student in class. I was floating somewhere, maybe in the middle of the park, or maybe top 10 on my very good day. I was just there, and I remember I'll come home, show my parents the report card. And what you tend to hear is, who told you couldn't be, first? Who told you could be third, and all of that? I'll be like, just let me be, I'm just, coasting through life. My father he's late now. My father in his wisdom would often delight in giving or setting us tasks that were a little beyond our time. So if you are in primary 4, it will get you to start to do some things that were maybe a little bit ahead of you, just to say to you, you see all these things about maths or English, all these subjects, it is not rocket science. You can actually know it if you want to know. If you set your heart, you can know it. But I hated that with all my heart. I didn't want to do that. I just said, I'm at this level, give me something fit for my level. So one day he called me and he said to me, do you know Pythagoras theorem? And I laughed and I said, Pytha what? I don't know any Pythagoras theorem. And he was like, go and bring your book, let me show you. And he sat me down and then he showed me, and I found it very easy. I was like, oh, is that the Pythagoras theorem? Oh, pretty straightforward. I know this, I can do it. And it was as if that moment was a prophetic moment. I didn't know when it was going to really come back to me. So it taught me on a Saturday like this. Monday, I got to school, and they said that there was going to be some scholarship that the school that they, okay, so it was a National Mathematical Center, that they wanted every school in Nigeria to appoint one student that would represent that school in the national mathematics competition. And that would mean that all those, whoever represents the school would then get to go to some venue that the state has appointed. At the state level, you will do a major maths exam or test, and then they will collate the winners from the state, and then they will choose maybe 2 winners from each state, something very, very serious like that. So I was in school, and my class teacher walked into class and said, hi guys, there's a new opportunity. The school needs to choose who would represent her in the national mathematics competition. It was an impromptu test. The school said, and we need to send the names tomorrow, so we're going to decide who is going today. So they said, okay, primary 6 students, primary 6 A, B, and I think C also. They said, let's get the names of, let's pick, I think they said they were going to pick 20 of us. So as God will have it, I'm always floating top either 10, 11. So my name made it to the list somehow. And I somehow got in there. Guys, We walked into that, little test hall. They sat all 20 of us down and they put 10 questions on the board. And guess what? All 10 were Pythagoras theorem. I don't know how that happened. I always say till tomorrow, did my father speak to the principal that was what was there a collusion that was what was going to happen? And these are what I call defining moments of God in a man's life. When God just deliberately trains you for something and you find you just happen into the situation that you've been purposely trained for, and you just deploy the skill and people begin to wonder, where did this person come from? I wasn't the best mathematician in my school at that time. I wasn't even close to being the best, but I was trained in a specific topic. I deployed that knowledge. And then guess what? I left the exam hall in 15 minutes. People said I had failed. And you can imagine, people laughed. They said I had failed. And I left. The results came out. I got 100% because I knew Pythagoras theorem. The best students in mathematics didn't pass. They all failed it. And so I was the sole representative of the school. Because what happened was that when I tasted that little bit of success, just a little bit of success, it inspired something in me that I can actually do this. I can actually be the best. I can actually become. Remember, I wasn't doing too well before then. I wasn't failing, but I also wasn't doing too well. I wasn't the most excellent in class. But that taste of success, of what could be, that's what we call potential. What you can become but haven't yet become. I had a taste of what I could become, but I hadn't yet become. And so that little experience just shifted my life. To cut the long story short, I went for the maths exam, state level. I actually also aced it at the state level, then became one of the few people that won the national mathematics competition in the country at that time. And then I was given a scholarship that covered me from GSS1 to GSS3. Actually, it was the federal government that paid my school fees then. Patterns, yes, those were patterns. When I got to University of Lagos, the same things continued to happen. I will stand, I will speak, people would listen, and I would influence. I will stand, I will speak, people would listen, and I would influence. That was when I began to realize that, number one, if I wielded such great influence with my voice, I could not live my life anyhow. One. Don't ever think you don't have any kind of influence, even if it is to your junior ones. Everybody has a measure of influence. In my own case, my influence was being manifested through how I conducted myself, but most importantly, the things I said. I realized that my words carried weight. In fact, I remember I said something one day, someone went and did it and got them into trouble. That's when I knew that, I need to be careful. Because if I say things, some people actually believe it and they will run with it. So I had to be very careful. But anyway, that's not where I'm going. Let me tell you the culmination of that, which then made another defining moment. University of Lagos. I was in my final year. I think it was my final year, year 5. And there was this suddenly, debate competition, university-wide debate competition. Okay. They were going to raise a team from across the faculties that would come together to contest in 2 different, teams. I didn't know what was going on. All I knew was that someone in my faculty, I think a lecturer, had spoken with the head of guidance and someone in the dean of student affairs office. It was just something, again, guys, you just never can tell. Your recommendation will come from people who have been observing you. At times, opportunities will come to you not because you put yourself forward for them, but because people who have heard you or who know stuff about you will recommend you. Just like they recommended, the guy called Joseph in the Bible, if you've ever heard of him before, or the guy called Daniel. There's always that power in recommendation. So anyways, I was recommended. And the recommendation resulted into an invitation. I was asked to come. Boy Scout motto says, be prepared. Anything can happen. Preparation and opportunity is what makes success happen. Okay. I was invited. This is a true life story. I was invited into the office of I think he was then the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos. I walked into that room and I saw 15 other guys. It was a plush office, big office. I saw 15 other guys, so we became 16. And I was wondering, good Lord, what's going on here? And then the guy looked at us and said, all of you, 16 of you, you all stood in awe and reverence of this big man, this great man you're standing in front of. He said, all of you, 16 of you, have been recommended across 16 faculties of this university, and you've all been recommended on the grounds that you are all apparently great scholars who can articulate themselves in words. And I was there almost peeing my pants. I'm like, I didn't bargain for this. I came from eating my rice and stew jejely, and then they told me to come somewhere, and I'm showing up on a big stage. And then the man said, today we will choose a team of 8. It means 8 of you will go. I'm like, go where? What's going on here? The guy said, you've all been selected for the University of Lagos debate competition. You will follow me to the Senate chambers. I said, Senate what? They marched all of us. And we proceeded from the DVC's office into the Senate chambers. We got into the Senate chambers. They sat us, the Senate, you know how the Senate could be now. It's a big round table. They sat all of us down. And then they said that the test was simple. They had prepared topics into a box. Each of us will stand up, walk to the box, pick a paper, whatever topic you pick, you will speak impromptu for 3 minutes and make an argument for or against that thing in the paper. I nearly fell off the chair. I said, they've killed me. Your father's people from the village have started chasing me because is this not disgrace? Who brought me here? Who told them? Who mentioned my name? These were the questions in my life. Who is doing this to me? Because this is not fair. No time to prepare, nothing. When it was my turn, I went up, picked up that thing, and like someone who had been skilled in the desert, I opened my mouth and spoke for 3 minutes. Everybody was looking at me like this. When I finished, the DVC said, we've heard you all. He said, young man, that was me. You're definitely going through. I'm like, oh, I made the final 8. And then that's how 8 of us came to be. And then they split the team. Now watch the split of the team. They split the team. I was the head of my team. That was what they said. They said, you are the head of your team because you performed the best. You are the head of your team. Who did they put in my team? A lady from pharmacy, a lady from maybe medicine, and one lady from some other subject. The subject where I'm going at is that I read estate management. I was reading estate management. So we're not your kind of typical, courses that required a lot of talking or articulation. On the other team, we had the best student from mass communication, who probably had a radio show. We had one of the most eloquent student union executives, who was always known to be an activist. We had one of the best students in law who was there, and they had one other person on their team. So there was that team of 4 that had professions that required eloquence versus my own team of 4 that we didn't know where we were coming from: medicine, pharmacy, estate management, and all of that. And that's how they said we should go and prepare. I prepared on the day of the debate. On the day of the debate, televised live on the school's radio station. I remember, and I'll never forget this. I stood up. I told my team, I said, one of the forces that will demonstrate unity here is that we all wear the same color. So we wore the same color. Blue shirt. I'll never forget this. I will never forget this. Navy blue shirt, navy blue tie, black suit. I told the girls, blue shirt. And another, funny thing, everything I wore, I borrowed. Don't ask me. I borrowed it because I didn't have it. I was one that said the blue shirt, but I didn't have it. So I went and borrowed. So I borrowed the shirt and everything else that I wore. The only thing I didn't borrow was the shoe. And we walked into that place, and I remember there was the panel of judges made up of eminent professors, including, I will never forget this man, Professor Ralph Akinfeleye, who was then the head of mass comm at the University of Lagos. He was the head of the panel, and the man was such an eloquent speaker. He had a radio voice, a baritone radio voice. And I stood up, and he said, as the first spec speaker. The topic was university autonomy. Is it a plus or a gain? Is it a gain or a deficit to university systems? And I had done research, I had worked with my team, I spoke. The guy on the other team, who was the head and the champion in mass comm, I'll never forget his name, he's a blind chap, walked up to the stage. The hall was packed full, 350 students. When they called him up, the whole hall went agog. This guy went on the mic and spoke with such eloquence that I nearly sank with my own Ibadan accent versus this guy's polished accent. I didn't know what was going to happen. So the guy he spoke, and I felt like the world had come to an end. Hold on, Mama. The reason why I'm saying all those details is because you will get to seasons of your life where it will look as if everybody else is better than you, but you don't know what it is you're emanating out of you that people are picking up on. Because when your skill will speak for you, your skill will not speak your local language. Your skill will not speak your local language. Skill has one language: excellence. Not your Ibadan accent, not your Ijebu accent. Skill has one language. The language is excellence. So before you beat yourself down and say, I was talking with my Ibadan accent, or I was talking about, what people are hearing is not your accent. They are seeing the excellence. They're seeing logic. They're hearing things beyond your accent. That's why great people with their accent still stand before kings. Nobody cares about their accent because the content they carry supersedes the accent in their English. So that's why you don't need to form American or form British. Just be yourself. Excellence has one language. Skill has one language. Excellence. When this guy spoke, he was the most eloquent across board. In fact, I will never forget this. When the guy left and the second speaker who was meant to support me went on stage, she lost her train of thought and couldn't speak. She froze on stage. She froze. Literally froze on stage. She came back to the seat beside us and she was crying. She said, I've let you guys down. I had to start comforting her. I said, you haven't let us down. I said, what happened. You froze. You couldn't deliver. It's okay, my dear. At the end of it all, in the wisdom of God, they said something. They said, now we will ask for 3 minutes for each lead speaker to come in and fine-tune everything else that guys, I always say this to you, there will always be a moment of restitution. There are some opportunities that come and go, but there will always be a second chance. When you have a second chance, you better grab it with your hands and legs and everything else that you have on you. Just grab it. So when they gave me 3 minutes,
just locate him.
When they gave me 3 minutes, I will never forget this. The lady who had failed to deliver tapped me. I will never forget this. These are moments I will never forget. She held my hand. I will never forget. And she said to me, Adeyinka, it's now in your hands. Kai! I said, this is what you call the weight of leadership. So I stood up, walked to the podium. What I was going to do came to me as I walked to the podium, and the strategy was clear. I was listening to my opponents. I had written their central arguments, and I went on stage and I used facts to dismantle all their key points. I dismantled it. And I looked at the professors on stage and I said, do you not agree that if we go down the path that these gentlemen have proposed, it will lead us into the calamity of your brilliance being locked up? Those were my phrases to them. And they looked at me and said, yes, we agree with you. The tipping point of it all, guys, we won that debate. Bottom line, that was the day I realized that the firepower to win is not necessarily in how good the entire team is. Your excellence, when it is time for you to find expression, it will give you the platform. In fact, excellence will trump all those other things you're putting your eyes on.
I have vision, oh, I believe. I know I can count on me. So stand up for the champion.